On today's show, I have a unique display that might have just finally answered that question: is innovation dead in the 24-inch monitor market? Well, yes and no. You see, this is the 25-inch edgeless gaming monitor with a 165 Hz refresh rate from the Sceptre company. While budget high-speed panels aren't a new thing, this monitor has one trick up its sleeve that you're going to have to see to believe. It's almost impervious to ghosting. Previously, you had to choose between great color, rich blacks, and a high refresh rate. While there are IPS panels showing up that boast 100, 120, and even higher refresh rates, they all suffer from one major headache-causing problem, that is ghosting. Even the impressive C30 ultrawide from Sceptre with a 200 Hz VA panel suffered from that pretty badly. But today's panel is not an IPS panel and it's not a VA panel. Sceptre engineers have gone back to the drawing board and come up with a TN panel that must be experienced to see what you're missing. TN, for those that don't know, stands for Twisted Pneumatic, one of the fastest and oldest panel types out there, which often suffer in two areas: viewing angle and color accuracy. Well, as far as viewing angle, a lot of the footage you're going to see here tonight is captured off-axis, and compared to my IPS displays, seems pretty good. Color, on the other hand, is a different story, which we'll come back to later and we'll be talking about in more detail during the benchmark test and in my tuning recommendations. The bezels on this monitor are less than 10 millimeters on three sides, with the Sceptre logo and some stickers across the bottom edge. Gaming on this monitor, its intended and primary use, was nothing short of phenomenal. I asked Sceptre to send me something that would pair well with my RX 6600 XT that I was reviewing, a card that is well known as a full HD resolution card, and it kept up in that department very well. If you haven't been lucky enough to pick up a next-gen GPU for yourself, this is one monitor that will work well with your older GPU in full HD and will work even better when you upgrade. While waiting for Halo Infinite to download, I flipped through the Kludgy Sceptre OSD. Come on now guys, it's in dire need of an update. Then I jumped over to HDMI 1 on the Xbox Series X. Interestingly, the Xbox Series X immediately noticed I was running a high refresh rate panel, and I was able to lock in 1920 by 1080 at 120 Hz easily. Gameplay on Forza Horizon 5 at this high refresh rate was a treat. Add to that the inky blacks that showed off the hood and body reflections like polished glass. At nearly 400 nits of peak brightness, this monitor can give some TVs a run for their money as a console platform. It's been a while since I've been gaming on a 24-inch class monitor, and with the price of 27 and 32-inch monitors dropping so quickly, it is a choice to be made. With its 24.5-inch diagonal measurement comes in at a DPI of 90. Going to a 27 Full HD drops that down to 81 and is definitely noticeable up close. Its DPI is roughly equivalent to that of a 32-inch at 1440p, but a lot nicer on your graphics card. With 4 high-speed inputs, 1 DisplayPort, and 3 extra HDMIs, you're not going to be short of places to plug things in. To get that max 165 Hz, you're going to need to be on the DisplayPort or HDMI 1. The remaining 2 HDMI ports, 2 and 3, are good for 144 Hz max. It also features a 3.5mm headphone output for your gaming headphones or a soundbar connection. Did I mention the OSD stinks and navigating it is like playing pool in the dark? But at least they've separated the control buttons and the up-down arrows with an on-off button in between them now. I still kept hitting the wrong control and losing my place pretty often. I was surprised when I flipped over to the Xbox that I was greeted with the game sounds right away from the included 2 rear-firing speakers. Normally you don't hear anything from most monitors in this price point, and while they aren't going to win any awards, they aren't awful, which puts them in front of most other monitor speakers. Volume is good and controlled by the bottom rocker button. Anything above 50 is essentially the same, though 0 to 50 gets plenty loud for my small space. Jumping back over to my PC, Halo was ready to go and teach me exactly how long it's been since the old Master Chief hung up his plasma rifle for an early retirement.
You're about to be very popular.
Yeah, I really suck. The 165Hz FreeSync enabled frame locking played really well on my RX 6800 at ultra and high settings across the board. Too bad I didn't keep my end of the bargain up. I didn't put a frame counter up, but what surprised me is the lack of any perceptible ghosting or motion blur on the shadows and hard contrasting lines, which I've gotten used to now with other displays. IPS and VA panels pushed to their limits often use pixel overdriving as a technique to cut down on this problem, though this panel with its overdrive turned off did a remarkably good job. Here is the UFO test where you can see maybe a frame of post-draw delay, but the edges are clear and sharp. This monitor ships with medium overdrive setting turned on, and somewhere between low and medium overdrive seems to be the sweet spot for this one. Compare that with other VA and IPS panels, and they seem to struggle across the board. Even on their best day, they barely equal this monitor running without any overdrive help at all. For true gamers, the back features a pair of scrolling RGB LEDs. 'Cause RGB, man. Though the only controls you have to turn them on and off are in the OSD, a really missed opportunity for sure. Media watching was good, and something else this monitor does unexpectedly well, though the movie mode and its dynamic contrast can actually overblow the highlights pretty easily. Dynamic contrast off and either movie or standard mode with a plus 10% on the saturation looks remarkably good. Unboxing and setting up the monitor just takes a few minutes. The stand assembles quickly with just 3 screws, but it leaves a lot to be desired in adjustment, and it has a really short height. If you want to use one of those gas strut monitor arms with it, I think it's almost a must these days. The monitor includes a VESA mounting adapter plate. Don't lose this included plate, as you'll be hard pressed to find its replacement. Though I have heard if you talk to Sceptre, they can help you out. Pulling out the Datacolor Spider Elite, the display cranked out an impressive brightness of over 370 nits, better than most all the displays in this range and 50 nits brighter than the factory specs. This is the range that many monitors would need for HDR 400 support. It has a tested contrast ratio of around 800. This measurement didn't feel really high given the jet blacks and high brightness, but I tried more than one calibrator to cross-check this measurement, which didn't match what my eyes were seeing. Increasing the brightness only seemed to make the contrast worse, so I kept the default settings and proceeded. Tone response on the gamma curves came back approximately where it should be at 2.2, with options in the OSD to bring that curve up or down if you think the monitor is too dark or too light across the color gradient. That's something you don't normally see in budget-friendly panels of this price range. The display seemed to have a bit more brightness at the bottom edge of the display, though the delta E for luminance was less than 2 in all areas, so not something you'd expect someone to notice with the naked eye and likely won't be a distraction. Photographers, videographers, and content creators thinking this might be the perfect all-around monitor, you may want to be looking away for a sec. While it does have 95% of the sRGB gamut coverage, and it actually has 106% of the sRGB color space, there's a shift in some colors that could be noticeable for print-proof matching. With a calibrator, you may be able to bring it all back, and for gaming, forget about it, you won't even notice. Color accuracy aside, out of the box, this monitor ships with a saturation level preset of 50. For the first couple of weeks, I thought it was a bit flat in color. I chalked this up to being a TN panel from all the rumors I'd heard. To get the most out of this panel, I recommend bumping the saturation to between 60 and 70 in the on-screen display. I was pleased with the deep colors that this TN panel was putting out after that very small adjustment. It's not ProArt, iMac, or IPS level color, but on a high-speed gaming monitor with almost no ghosting in a TN panel, this was impressive to see. Games like Rocket League and Fortnite showed in all their Crayola box color glory. I am going to be sad that I have to send this one back to its Southern California home. Sceptre has a winner here, and it often comes in at under the $200 price point, running right now for $179 on Amazon. With its nearly ghosting-free test results, sharp and thin bezel design, you could pick up 3 of these for the price of some ultrawides and make a killer wraparound first-person shooter, simulation, or work-and-play setup. If you do decide to pick one up, check out the links in the video description, which will automatically take you to the lowest price I've found and helps my channel out with a very small commission. This has been John, the Net Guy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a future video.